Hey guys, this video is going to be very special for me. I almost can't believe it really, but today we are checking out my new Ibanez Custom Shop M8M Meshuggah 8-string, and this thing is an absolute monster. Let's start right away with the demo with this guitar through my Quad Cortex. Take a listen. Alright, I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. This thing looks amazing. It sounds amazing too. So that was this guitar through my NDSP Quad Cortex with kind of two presets in one. I switched between the heavy preset to the clean preset via the scenes feature. In the heavy preset, I'm using one of my captures that you can check out on my Ko-Fi web store from my single rectifier, the Rect 50 pack. It's just a capture of the heavy channel with a tube screamer up front and some EQ as well. And in the IR block for both of the tones, I used an ML SoundLab IR from the mega oversized pack, the Almighty IR. And for the clean tone, I used a capture of my orange rock reverb on the clean channel with some compression, some modulation, delay, and reverb. Later in this video, we're also going to take a listen to how this guitar sounds through a tube amplifier, so stay tuned for that. So let's go back in time for a second here. I remember the first time when I heard of the band Meshuggah. I think it was in 2004 or so. I was at this camp with musicians, and this one dude, he was like, yeah, there's this band from Sweden, and they play 8-string guitars. And he let me hear a section of the song I, which came out around that time, and I was like, what is this? I just couldn't comprehend, you know what I mean? And then I started listening to them more and more, and at a certain point, it clicked, and I was a fan. And from then on, I followed them, bought all their records, and saw them live a bunch of times, and they're just an amazing band and very inspiring because they do things that no other band does. They are very unique, and also their guitars. Obviously, they introduced me to the idea of an 8-string guitar. And the whole concept of an 8-string guitar, again, is just so inspiring to me, and it makes me come up with, I think, unique things, at least to me, for my personal style and stuff. So when I became a fan, I also wanted to get myself an 8-string guitar, of course. And back then, they didn't make any production 8-string guitars. I do remember when Ibanez first released the RG2228, their first production model 8-string, I got one of the first ones in my country, maybe one of the first ones ever made. Enjoyed that for a bunch of years, but it didn't completely scratch my Meshuggah 8-string itch, so to speak, because these are unique guitars in that they have a very long scale length. You know, they have a Lundgren pickup and stuff like that, and the 2228, even though it was a great guitar, had a shorter scale length, EMG pickups and stuff like that. So I tried a bunch of other 8-strings from other brands, and eventually about, let's say 10 years or so, maybe 9 years or so ago, I got myself the Ibanez M8M, which was the Indonesian version of this model. Now this is the premium one, of course, This is the custom shop one. They released this one in 2012 as Meshuggah's first signature model. But back then, and still now, it was very expensive. So they also released the Indonesian-made M80M, much more affordable, bolt-on, but basically the same specs. Same skill length, 29.4 inches long, a Lundgren pickup, the same bridge, black, stuff like that. And I really enjoyed that guitar for a long time. It did scratch that Meshuggah tone itch for me, but this, premium custom shop model always stayed in the back of my mind, basically. But I never dared to dream of owning this guitar since it was so expensive. But I couldn't help but think from time to time how it would be to own this guitar. So, a little while ago, I sold some gear, freed up some cash, and I just decided that I wanted to pull the trigger. You only live once, right? Carpe diem and all that stuff. So yeah, I pulled the trigger and bought this guitar, so this video is not sponsored at all. I paid a lot of money for this thing, and it feels kind of crazy since it's just a guitar, you know what I mean? But this is kind of like a once-in-a-lifetime thing, basically. So yeah, I bought it, and it came in the mail. I did an unboxing video a while ago, and it was kind of surreal opening the case. It comes with a really cool case, by the way. But yeah, here it is. It's my custom shop Ibanez M8M Meshuggah 8-string. Now this is like the GOAT of 8-strings, right? I mean, the ones that Meshuggah use for themselves primarily are from the LA custom shop, as far as I understand, but they also have a couple of these. They built them very close to the LA custom shop versions, very close to those specs. And yeah, this thing is a beast, man. In terms of the overall aesthetics, it's really simple. As you can see, it's black. It almost disappears in the camera sometimes because of how dark it is. But yeah, it's very elegant at the same time. Single pickup, neck through, no inlays on the neck or anything like that. It's just like a tool, a very utilitarian tool, if I'm saying that correctly. But it does the thing and it has the mojo. It feels like a very special instrument for sure. So let's just go over the specs and features real quick. So again, this one is made in Japan in the Ibanez custom shop by Sugi. And we have alder body wings. Now my M80M, which I've used for years on the channel, as I mentioned, that one has a swamp ash body. This one has alder body wings and again, a neck through design. And that's something that I really, really love about this particular guitar. We have a 5-piece neck with maple and jatoba. And one of the things that I like about the feel of this guitar, aside from it being like a satin finish, is that you can kind of feel the edges of the wood stripes, which is kind of cool and unique. So it has an interesting kind of open pore texture going on. 24 jumbo frets with prestige fret treatment, so they are very smooth around the edges, and of course you can get a nice and low action on this thing. We have a rosewood fretboard, stained obviously because it looks very black, and the Meshuggah scale length of 29.4 inches, which is just perfect for those low notes. It gives the low notes that bell-like snarl, if you will, and it really has that signature Meshuggah tone that not a lot of other 8-string guitars offer. So that's really cool, and I absolutely love it about this guitar, as well as on my M80M. On the headstock, we have hip shot tuners, open gear tuners. They look cool, they do the job. A locking nut, of course, over here. In case you're wondering, I always put some foam under the strings past the nut, and I do that to mute unwanted resonance, basically, that you tend to get with high gain. Now, in terms of the feel, the neck feels very comfortable. The funny thing is that it feels slightly bigger than my M80M's neck. I guess that the shoulders feel a little bit more round, whereas the neck on my M80M feels a little bit more flat and fast. But this thing is absolutely very comfortable to play across the entire neck. Really a nice feel in your hand for sure, which is to be expected for that kind of money. Now we have an RG body shape, of course. Nothing really unique there, but there is this little cutaway over here for the upper access, or I guess for just to make it a little bit more comfortable when you're playing up top. Then we have this M8 pickup by Lundgren, and that really helps with that signature Meshuggah tone. 2 Now, I also have a sort of version of this pickup on the M80M, which has the plastic bobbin, and I think that one is made in a different factory. I'm not even sure, but this is like the handmade one by Lundgren, and I think this one has paper bobbins, if I'm correct. And I do think that there's a difference in tone. This one is a little bit more medium or low output, a little bit more soft and dynamic sounding than the other one, but that could also have to do with the bolt-on construction and the swamp ash body of the other one. I must say it sounds really good, very chunky and very snarly in the lows, as you probably heard in the demo, but still it's a bit more balanced and less sort of aggressive by default sounding than the other one in my M80M. But of course, aesthetically, it fits the guitar very well. We have one volume control and one tone control, and of course the FX Edge 3 8 bridge. Kind of looks like a tremolo, but it's not a tremolo. It's a fixed bridge, but I think that it feels very comfortable indeed. I know not everybody is a fan of these things, but I like it. And a system like this with this bridge and a locking nut up here really allows you to lock everything down so that the tuning is just very stable, basically. Okay, before I give you guys my general opinion on the guitar, let's take a listen to another clip with the song that I wrote on this guitar, and this time I'm going to run it through my Lichtlaerm Audio Prometheus amplifier with the King in Yellow up front, my favorite boost, also from Lichtlaerm Audio. And let's just see how this thing sounds through a tube amplifier. Take a listen. All right, that was awesome. So that was the Lichtlaerm Audio Prometheus on the lead channel with the King in Yellow boost up front, through my RedSeven Amplification Amp Central reactive load, and then the same ML SoundLab Mega Oversized Almighty IR. Same one as I used in the Quad Cortex preset. Sounded really good, and again, nice and snarly, but still quite balanced across the board. So yeah, what are my thoughts on this guitar? Well, as I mentioned, this thing is quite special because it's just so expensive. If you want to know how much it costs, just Google it. Google the Ibanez M8M. Yeah, it's not affordable. It's not for everybody because of that price. I mean, with the M80M, the Ibanez model that was made in Indonesia, those are great as well. It might need a little bit of work, some work on the frets or something like that. But when you get a good one, you get a really great sounding and playing guitar with those essential features that a Meshuggah guitar should have: the long scale length, single pickup, and the Lundgren pickup. However, if you want to spend a little bit more and get something that is basically the same as what Meshuggah uses, then the M8M is very hard to beat. The overall look of this guitar obviously is great. Very simple, but it looks really nice, I think. It also sounds really good. A bit more balanced for sure than the M80M, which sounds very aggressive in the mids. This one is a bit more balanced and more dynamic sounding, probably also because of the pickup. So I guess you could say this is a pretty versatile guitar, despite the features being so extreme. Now the feel of the guitar also is great. The neck feels super smooth, the frets as well. The action is nice and low. And yeah, it's just really a joy to play on this guitar. And I love this thing so much already. I can see myself using this for many years to come. So yeah, sounds wonderful, plays amazingly well, looks killer too. It does the Meshuggah thing, that's for sure. Do I recommend getting one? Well, if you have the money, and if you really love the Meshuggah 8-string sound, or if you're just like a huge Meshuggah fan like me, then there's just nothing that can beat the experience of owning this particular guitar. The Ibanez Custom Shop M8M Meshuggah 8-string guitar. I have zero regrets. That's for sure. Now, there are some videos that I can do in the future if you guys are interested, so let me know in the comments down below, but I could compare this to my M80M. I also have the FTM33 Stoneman, which is also a Meshuggah signature 8-string. It has a shorter scale length, looks very different. So I could talk about the differences and stuff and maybe do a little sound comparison. Let me know your thoughts. And also, to support the channel, you can check out my affiliate links below, Thomann or Sweetwater, or my web store where I sell the Quad Cortex captures and stuff. I'd really appreciate that. Of course, also hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hope to see you soon. Cheers.